time of the month where once again we get out the pads, tampons, pain relievers, heating pads, sweatpants, and tissues, and face the tiredness, the pains, the feelings of both wanting to be alone and wanting deeply to be understood. Is it just me, or on your period do you also crave a cave or cozy cabin like in those ambiance videos where there's like a fire going and there's rain outside and the vibe is just so warm and comforting? And then you're actually met with the reality of your life. Menstruation, also known as inner winter, is what we're going to be talking about today. Inner winter is the part of your menstrual cycle a couple days before your period and the time that you have your period. And a lot is happening. Our bodies are literally shedding and releasing our uterine lining. That unto itself is a lot, but there's more to this. So, inner winter aligns with the very start of the follicular phase. And the follicular phase of the menstrual cycle is when 5 to 20 of the thousands of egg-containing follicles in the ovaries begin to develop. And this process actually begins on the first day of your period. So each cycle, not only are you bleeding during menstruation, you're also beginning to develop the start of new life. Thus, menstruation is a time of release of physical fluids from the body and also emotions, while at the same time it is the very start, the very infancy of new life growing inside of you, of both the physical eggs beginning to develop in your ovaries and in you being filled up with the life you need. The passion, dream, focus, task for the new cycle. The seed that you will grow in the upcoming days of spring. This is all stuff that I wish I knew about my period sooner. Many, if not most of us, associate our periods with pain and discomfort. Be that physical pain and discomfort like cramps and nausea and headaches, back pain, bloating, breast pain, fatigue, and or emotional pain and discomfort like anxiety, depression, irritability, upset, and anger. The pains of periods as we know it does not have to be the norm. We've accepted these symptoms as the norm and we're told that these things are just part of being a woman. Most doctors will do very little to help us with these pains except prescribe a birth control pill, which does nothing to heal the true underlying causes of the pain, but at its best acts as a band-aid solution. You do not have to accept your period pain as the norm. And there are many things that we can do to create a much more comfortable and meaningful experience of your period, or as you'll come to know it, your inner winter. I want you to bring all of your pains, all of your experiences of your period here right now, call them up, and let's consider a new perspective, a new approach for your period. Okay, so let's start by giving a little insight as to why you feel the way you might feel when you have your period. Number one, your hormones are collapsing to their lowest levels on the days around the start of your period. And you too might feel like you're collapsing to your lowest levels. And you might feel this in the form of overwhelming fatigue, emotional vulnerability, anxiety, or teariness. Number two, your uterus begins contracting so it can shed its uterine lining. Prostaglandins are hormone-like substances involved in inflammation and pain, and they are what trigger these uterine muscle contractions. And it's believed that the higher the level of prostaglandins, the more severe the menstrual cramps. And menstrual cramps can be caused by other things, especially intense menstrual cramps. It can be caused by conditions like endometriosis or uterine fibroids. And as we all probably know, cramps can be a major cause for those blah feelings that we associate with our periods. Number three, how you care for yourself and how you spend your days on your period directly affect how it is you experience your period. Some of us may be actively and unknowingly inducing increased pains and tension and anxiety and discomfort because we make no correlation between what we do on our period and how we care for ourselves on our period with our experience of our period. Lack of awareness equals lack of understanding, which equals vulnerability to unnecessary suffering. So with that, let's begin adding some awareness into our experience of our periods. Number one, we live in female bodies that call for cyclical rest, and we live in a society that never calls for rest. Inner autumn and inner winter are the two inner seasons that heavily clash with cultural and societal norms. In our society, productivity and busyness are valued, whereas rest is equated with laziness, weakness, and being unproductive. Not to mention, our society is set in menstrual denial. Our menstrual cycles are not at all incorporated into how our society functions. It's not appreciated, it's not advocated for, and it's not accepted, so it's being denied. And this makes for some pretty crappy experiences of menstruation because it puts struggle in the place of where support should be. It makes something that is so hugely a part of us seem invisible and not important. And so that's how we're taught to experience our periods. We're actually taught to not experience them. We're taught to push through, numb pain, and continue on as if nothing is happening. Denial and struggle. So with all that being said, what would it look like if we embraced our periods instead of denying them? This leads us to the most integral aspect to caring for ourselves during menstruation. It's something extremely simple and yet quite radical in our modern world. Rest. The most integral aspect to caring for ourselves during our period is rest. Creating a space for ourselves that is quiet and away from others gives us the space to let go, renew, and get inspired for the new cycle. And remember, the new cycle has just begun. Every cycle starts over on the first day of your period. And you may be well aware of the call from your body to rest because you feel crappy and exhausted on your period, and all you want to do is hide under your covers with a heating pad. Or you might feel so agitated and annoyed by anyone being remotely close to being in your space that you crave someplace far away where you can do whatever you want with no one bugging you. I would say that all of us have some inner call to rest during our period, but it will just vary in intensity from person to person and even from cycle to cycle. The important thing here is that you don't deny that desire to rest, because denying it will add fuel to your set of period pains, strains, and tensions. Moving on to number 2. Our bodies and minds are in a different state when we have our period, and cramming ourselves into the roles and responsibilities of daily life just doesn't go too well with this altered state. Now, why is that? It's because this altered state cares a lot more about being and releasing than it does about doing and achieving. And it's really hard to just be and let go if you never truly stop. Here are some ways that you can stop and rest on your period. This is your time to say no to things. Say no to any obligations and responsibilities that you can say no to. Create a restful place in your home where you can be, if at all possible, alone. And in this space, consider playing nature sounds or gentle music and adjusting the lighting and the temperature so that it's comfortable. Like, think of this space as a retreat space for yourself. In this space, you can take naps and eat nourishing foods and stay hydrated. You can do some slow stretching and gentle movement like Yin Yoga. There's a lot of great videos on YouTube that will take you through a full Yin Yoga Flow. It's one of my favorite things to do movement-wise when I have my period. You can do journaling and quiet creative work, and you want to avoid being totally mindless with this time, so avoid endlessly scrolling on your phone. But once you have given yourself a good chunk of time to truly rest, then watch a show or someone you like to watch on YouTube. Watch something that's comforting or inspiring or uplifting to you. And getting outside for a walk and some fresh air is also really nice too. Now, some of you may be like, Greta, that is a wonderful, idealistic, fantasized image of how I could spend my period. but there is no way that I could actually do that. I don't have the time and I don't have the space. And I understand that in our world, taking time off is a luxury. And the vast majority of us are not able to just walk away from our responsibilities when we're bleeding. But could you start with just 10 minutes each day of your period to truly turn away from the world and just be? And this does not include being on your phone or scrolling endlessly. It's a moment of 10 minutes where you just truly let yourself step away from it all. And I'll say here too, that choosing to step away from your responsibilities when you have your period does go against the feminist idea that women are not limited by their bodies. As in, your period doesn't make you any less capable of working and going on with life. And this is true. Women can do it all. Women do it all every single day. We can work, we can caretake, and we can bleed all at the same time. We do not become liabilities or incapable people. However, that does not mean that our bodies and minds and hearts are not crying out for rest and care. It does not mean that we should just push on just because we can. So, given the season of life we're in, and who and what we're responsible to, choose to see the value in rest and allow yourself to experience as much rest as you can when you have your period. Here are some quick self-care tips for when you have your period, when you're in your inner winter. Number one is, of course, give yourself as much time and space to rest as you possibly can when you have your period. Number two, intentionally create a space for you to rest. Like I said before, it might be setting up your bedroom or your living room for a full day of rest and relaxation, or it might be taking a long hot shower or bath after a busy day. Have a place where you can continually return to for comfort. Next, eat at regular times. Keep yourself fueled up while you're releasing. Your period is about releasing and replenishment, so keep that in your mind as you're on your period. As you're releasing, what things can you do to replenish yourself? And a big aspect to that is fueling yourself up with food, with hydration. So eat at regular times. Foods like soups and curries can be warm and nourishing, and staying hydrated with water and different herbal teas is really nice. I really love red raspberry leaf tea when I'm on my period. I found it's really helpful with period cramps. Also, minty teas can be nice if you kind of just feel like gross and maybe a little nauseous. Peppermint and spearmint tea I really like. Also, ginger tea, either cutting up fresh ginger and just putting boiling water over that, or you can just get like a tea bag of ginger tea. Also really nice for any of the digestive upset that you might feel. Stay hydrated. Next is just generally move slower. Like, really let yourself feel the pace that your body is at, because we're so used to just pushing forward and going at a pace that's probably not exactly the pace that our bodies would naturally be at. So if you're going to at any point in your cycle really pay attention to like how you would want to move, I think it would be during menstruation, really honoring the pace you move at, which is probably slower. So honor your slower pace. And with that, light, slow, and intentional movement, like I said, Yin Yoga is really nice. Stretching and Yin Yoga, or just relaxing, restorative types of yoga, are really nice too. They can also help with cramps and just like just the gross period feeling, because it kind of moves things around gently and can stretch your muscles a bit, which kind of counteracts those muscle contractions happening in your uterus. It can also be a great time to pamper yourself with things that are uplifting or just make you feel a little bit brightened up and refreshed, like a face mask or a hair mask, or kind of the stereotypical self-care things, but they can be really uplifting and nice to do when you need that extra boost. And then also, of course, finding your different ways that you relieve pain if you experience period pain, like beyond just discomfort. Things like I said before, using teas. I've really found red raspberry leaf tea to be really helpful if I start drinking it like a couple of days before my period starts, and then on the first couple of days of my period, it has greatly reduced my period pain. Self-massage is really helpful. I'll link down below a super helpful self-massage video that you can follow along with when you're experiencing period cramps. I'm telling you, like, I didn't think that it would help me that much, but I was having really bad cramps one day. I had already taken ibuprofen for it and it was like still hurting, and I was freaking out because usually ibuprofen helps. But then I did this massage and it was like instant relief. It was kind of crazy. So I'll link that down below. Very great little tool for relieving pain. And of course too, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do when it comes to pain relief. So like I said, like I'll use ibuprofen here and there when I need to. What's really important is just remembering that period pain is kind of like cumulative. What I mean by that is what you're doing throughout your whole cycle really makes an impact on how much pain you have during your period, especially if your pain is caused directly from your period, like from those cramps, and not from something like endometriosis or uterine fibroids or other conditions that cause pain unto itself, you know what I mean? So if you just have like plain old period pain, then do what you have to do in the time when you like are actively in pain. But just consider that the things you do throughout your whole cycle is what really impacts that time of your period. So I can talk more about that too in future videos, but just keep that in mind. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do when you're actively in pain, but I also like to use that as a chance to think of new ways that I want to help that pain like holistically and overall, so that I don't necessarily have to go to like taking like ibuprofen for it, because that's not something that I want to have to do every single month. So anyway, that's my little spiel. I can totally make a whole video on that type of stuff. Anyway, so yeah, use these things as you consider how you might rest a little bit more when you have your period. And remember that true rest is letting yourself fully stop and just be. I know that might sound cheesy and hippie-y, but it's true. You gotta just let yourself settle. There is great power in the deep rest of menstruation. Experiencing menstruation at its fullest offering is truly letting everything fall away. The responsibilities, the passion projects, the work, so that you can move slowly and restfully, so that you can close your eyes in a comfortable place and rest deeply, so that you can be quiet and still. I'm beginning to believe through feeling and through experience that it's in this practice of intentional rest that a period becomes more than just bleeding and cramping. It's here that while you're letting go and releasing, you're also being filled back up again by something fresh, something new, an energy that you need. And I feel too that when we bypass this restful slowness, we are releasing less of what needs to be released, and we're receiving less than what we deserve. The act and energy of menstruation is truly in rest and replenishment. It's in continually allowing, cycle by cycle, to allow yourself to rest a little deeper, let go of a little more, and receive a little more. It's an offering that all women deserve to know and experience and make their own. Okay, so that was kind of a lot, but to put this all in super simple terms, caring for yourself on your period means to set boundaries, nourish, rest, release, and receive. And it does not mean carrying on without awareness, ignoring the call to retreat and rest, holding guilt over this natural need, and rushing yourself through your period days. In the season of winter in nature, the days are short and the nights are long. It's a natural time for rest. And it's the same in inner winter. And we have to trust that the slow season of winter will give way to the energized season of spring. Rest leads to renewal, and winter leads to spring. I'll end this off by saying, if you've never heard of the menstrual cycle or your period thought of or explained or treated in this way before, like, I get it. This might all sound like a bunch of weird hippie mumbo jumbo, but I promise you that it is not. It's really not that at all. We've got a lot happening inside of us. And if you're struggling to place deeper meaning, or if you're struggling to believe that you could experience your period in this more meaningful way, I encourage you to start by looking into how miraculous and complex we are as women, how our hormones are constantly shifting, putting us in different states of being that come with different gifts and different challenges, different strengths and different weaknesses. Not to mention how we have life in the form of eggs inside of us, a handful of which mature in every cycle. We have a uterus that prepares for this life, and it also has the ability to shed and release and bleed. That's kind of incredible and wild. And that's not even me talking about how our bodies in a state of health have the ability to literally grow another human being inside of us. And whether the thought of having babies absolutely repulses you, or if it's a core dream of yours, there is empowerment and deep meaning to be gained from that ability. We normalize these things, and they should be normalized because they are normal, but we can't normalize them to the point where we strip all of the pure magic and mystery and incredibleness from it. Whether you believe it or not, you are magnificently created, and that magnificently created you has a lot more to her than what you may have experienced or known up until this point. There are so many menstruality teachings that have really helped me to see and experience my period and my whole menstrual cycle way differently than I had before. And these teachings of the inner seasons, they're just the foundation to these teachings of menstruality. And they're also just the foundation for each of us individually to build off of through our own experiences, because we all experience our menstrual cycle differently. We'll all experience these inner seasons differently, and our experience of these inner seasons will change as we move through our lives. Okay, so before you head off, I hope you will subscribe so that when a new video from me comes in, you'll be ready to learn a little bit more about you. Like this video to support growing the knowledge of the menstrual cycle, and leave me a comment because I would love to hear from you. And I really would love to hear from you. If you're someone who is typically a silent viewer, I totally get it. That is how I am with all of the people I watch. Although I'm trying to get better at least like remembering to like people's videos. It's just one of those things, I don't know, like I forget to do it, and I don't know, I don't typically comment on people's videos, but I need to start commenting on the people I watch, because I know how good it feels when people show their true support or like acknowledgement that they watched your video. It feels really good. And beyond that, and more importantly, I really want to grow a community with this. So share your experiences, your thoughts, because it would literally mean so much to me. I just want to have people who care about this stuff as much as I do. And so let me know that you're here and leave me a comment down below. Oh, I also want to mention 2 books because they help me so much in learning all of this stuff and also in creating this new content that is about menstruality. Let me grab them real quick. They're over on my shelf. It's these 2 books, Wild Power and Period Power. As you can see by all of the sticky notes, I love these books and they've taught me a lot and I've really studied from them. So I just wanted to mention both of these because I've definitely gained a lot of inspiration and got a lot of help from them in creating this content. So check them out if you're curious and you want to learn more about your inner seasons, do a little bit of a self-study. They're really great resources. So a thank you to these books and these authors for the help in creating even more menstruality teachings and helping me to have a voice for it as well. So check out those books, I'll link them down below if you want to check them out. And from the growing light in me and to the growing light in you, thank you, and I will see you next time.